Welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy New Year from the Holla Family Podcast. A pleasure to be back on the air. Glad to be, recording one more day. More interesting topics and things to talk about. Again, thanks for everybody following us over the past few months. We're racking up a lot of podcasts. Definitely a great experience. And Happy New Year to the fellas. Yo, Shameless, what's going on with you, fam?
Yo, Happy New Year, everybody. I hope you guys had a great holiday season. Enjoy the family and friends and all that. We're back and we're getting ready to talk about some more stuff with you guys, all right?
All right, cool. Feast for thought. Yo, how was your New Year's, man?
Yeah, my New Year's was great, man. Glad to be back. Happy New Year, everybody. And just remember, 2015 is you. Is you.
Yeah, it's all us, man. It's our year. Like I say every year. It's our year. It's our year.
So just be blessed you're able to say it's our year every year.
This joint happens and you're like, oh, man. It's more bull.
We can go on forever about that. All right. But all right, cool. Also wanted to shout out our sponsors, Zilla and Stush, and also Zombie Life. Two different clothing companies, Zilla and Stush. Check that out online. Google them. Make sure you get to their website. That's Zilla with an X, not with a Z. Also Zombie Life. Check them out at zombielifestyle.com. That's L-Y for life, not L-I. All right. Definitely big shout out to them. And today, a couple of things we're going to talk about. But first, we just wanted to give a big shout out to, a rest in peace to Stuart Scott of ESPN. Stuart Scott passed away, I believe it was yesterday morning, was it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 49 years old, long bout that he had with cancer. Stuart Scott actually was one of the first, I think, big name, like household names in the community of color as far as like sportscasters. Definitely paved the way for a lot of the guys that we see today that you might be watching on TV. Even some of the former athletes that get on there. Either way, big loss that we saw happen yesterday through ESPN. He did have surgery. He had surgery and also radiation, chemo, all that stuff. Went through the whole bout with cancer. It looked like he got rid of it, and he kind of went back and forth with it. I think about a total of 3 times, and he lost the battle last night. So. One thing we just wanted to all just talk about. One thing was just a quick couple of cool memories about Stuart Scott. Big wrap up of how he was really important and just kind of like how we viewed him. So any of y'all fellas, y'all can hop in and take the reins right there.
To me, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry about that, but no, I was just gonna say like Stuart Scott, he just revolutionized like how we listen to, how we cover our sports and how we get our sports, and like as a young black male, just hearing his voice is like, he got to show the masses like, our style, our way, our spin on things, and our spin on sports, and he'll forever be missed. And yeah, he just changed the game. Like he made young black males, instead of just being an athlete, actually want to cover sports like he did. So he did a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of feel the same way because as a young black male growing up, playing sports myself and then watching sports, there weren't that many black male figures on there just to talk about sports. So when I saw Stuart Scott for the first time, it gave me the feeling of being, familiar. Like, it gave me a familiar feeling where I could feel comfortable watching something. It's not as if, like, the other sportscasters they didn't help out. It's just the fact that he was there and he was black and I was black. Some of the things that he would do, the little gestures, the little swag that he had, like, it kind of made me it made it familiar for more dudes like me who watch sports. And plus, I think he kind of paved the way for more other people, kind of like Mike from Mike and Mike. I think he came after that, and they started doing shows like that. And what's his name? We were just talking about him the other day.
Stephen A. Smith.
Yeah, Stephen A. Smith. Like, and then dudes like that started coming out, and then now you see sports being more diverse, and then there's more different type of sportscasters, and then like it made more comfortable, and then like he just made it more lively. Because he would add in little jokes and whatever when he covered stories, and it was so cool with him. So it was just so sad to hear that, when he got cancer and then now all of a sudden he passed away after 3 bouts. Like that's just heartbreaking, man. And I'm pretty sure not only black people can felt that way. I'm sure there's a lot of people who really love Stuart Scott for who he was.
Exactly.
Yeah, Stuart Scott was definitely a big part of me watching SportsCenter as a kid. And I know whenever you would turn it on at that night, if it was like Stuart Scott, you'd be like, oh, all right, cool, like they got Stuart on tonight. And it would be kind of exciting because when he would do the highlights, he have his little catchphrases where he'd be like, cool as the other side of the pillow or something like that,
Yeah, word, yo.
But, yeah, he was always cool, man. He spoke to an audience that they just couldn't speak to with Chris Berman, no offense, and some of those other guys who used to do it before. And he's definitely gonna be missed. And I noticed that he even paved the way for guys like Scott Van Pelt, who actually does use a lot of those hip hop catchphrases and slang and stuff like that you wouldn't even expect a white guy to know, which is pretty funny. But yeah, you're right. Stephen A. Smith, all those other guys, Stuart Scott paved the way for them, especially for working for ESPN. You know what I mean? Like they might be working for another company if it wasn't for Stuart Scott.
Exactly.
So yeah, definitely wanted to say rest in peace to Stu.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Rest in paradise.
All right, cool. So moving on to the next part of the podcast, the main issue here, the meat and potatoes of what we're getting ready to talk about right now. We spoke a little before about the police murders of Michael Brown and also Eric Gardner. Right now, there's been a big uproar after these two police officers in Brooklyn were murdered on, I believe it was December 20th. A young man from Baltimore who had just shot his girlfriend rode up to New York City to kind of hide out, and then took it upon himself to grab a gun and go execute two police officers. Meanwhile, he took Instagram pictures before and after he did it, and then he killed himself in a Brooklyn train station right after. Really an individual crazy act by a person who just really had nothing to do with the struggle and the protests and everything that was going on after the whole Michael Brown and also Eric Gardner and some of the other cases that we've seen. Had nothing to do with any of that, but for some reason the police officers in New York City immediately went to go and blame the mayor and said that the blood for those two cops is on his hands. And I guess the connection there is that when the protests were going on, the mayor kind of supported the New York City civilians' right to a peaceful protest, told the police to just make sure things didn't get out of hand, and to not really stop the protests because they were peaceful. As long as they were peaceful, let them do their thing. And also after the Eric Gardner case didn't go to an indictment, lead to an indictment, the mayor, Bill de Blasio, mentioned that he had to have a really tough conversation with his son about his encounters that he's going to have in the future, if he has any, with the police, and how he should handle it. Because Mayor de Blasio is married to a black woman and does have biracial children. So there's something that's been kind of a stain on the city, and the police are turning their backs on the mayor every time they see him. But how do you guys feel about that? Just some opening thoughts about any of that, and what you've seen, I guess, in your area or maybe on TV.
First off, I would like to say that dude who did that, he's a straight up coward. He just needed a scapegoat in order to look like some kind of hero when he was just doing violence and injustice to society itself. Not only to the police, but to everybody else who is of color or just human beings in general. Like, how do you just go out of nowhere and think that taking another life or other lives is justified for lives that were taken before? Even though that feels right, it's never right to do a negative towards a negative. You're just going to create more negatives. So, I mean, other than that, and then with the police, for them to turn their backs on the mayor is kind of childish, where you're supposed to be law enforcement and you're supposed to, give a better example for society to follow. You're making it worse now that people are looking at you and blaming you, and you're giving them more reason to think about why are they doing that. That's so messed up. Why are they turning back on the mayor who's actually, trying to help out the civilians who are trying to make a good cause? And they're just making themselves look even worse. But although, I can't blame all of them because, not all cops, I don't think all cops agree with the fact that they had to turn their backs on in New York City. And not all New York City police officials decided to turn their backs on Blasio, but I'd say 80% of them did, and the majority of them who were in there, I'm pretty sure did it because they didn't want to get chastised by the other cops. So that that goal, all in all, is, I don't know, man. I think it's childish, because they're just gonna keep creating more negatives, and then, you know, maybe more people will get killed among that, and I hope that doesn't happen, because everyone wants to be childish.
Yeah, I feel you, man. I think it was really weird. I've never seen nothing like that, as far as like the police turning their back on the mayor multiple times. I never seen that in my life, so it was a new thing for me. I was just shocked.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't understand. He's just being real about the situation. His son is obviously not white. He's not black either, but at the same time,
got an afro.
Yeah, I mean, he's a person of color, so basically he's not white. And if we're gonna act like, you know, white people don't get a majority of the the leniency towards police, then you're just, you know, being shameful to yourself and to society. Then you got to understand that people of color have a weird and different struggle when it comes to the police, because, you know, some of us are targeted more. And if you don't want to believe that, then I'm sorry for you, but that's just harsh reality. And his son is a person of color, so when he grows up, and as he's growing up, he's going to encounter a lot of police officers who act towards him that way, so he has to tell him stuff like that. And it's going to be difficult for him, because he's not a person of color. He's white himself, so it's kind of difficult for him.
Yeah, he was just being a good dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, being a good dad, and they gotta understand too. When his son gets stopped by the cops, he can't say, "Oh yeah, the mayor's my dad." They're not gonna believe him necessarily. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be a different situation.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, what? This is your dad? He's white," and then like he has to prove it to himself. He has to give him his license and show his last name. Like, that's what's gonna happen.
So yeah, sometimes there ain't even enough time for all of that too.
Nope.
Exactly.
Man. So yeah, it was definitely a real, and the police basically blamed the mayor for saying that the blood is on his hands, and it was really spearheaded by I believe it's the police. I don't know if he's he works with the union, but I forgot what his position is. Some guy named Pat Lynch.
Is he the head of the union? I think he is.
It's the policeman something he's the head of. I can't remember what it was, but Pat Lynch is basically the guy who's been the voice behind all this, saying we want an apology from the mayor. That's actually something that happened today, where he asked for the mayor to give him an apology, and I think that's ridiculous. And the funny thing is, like, the cops in New York City are all like basically quiet about it, because like you can't really say anything when you're a part of that group, because of how it's like the military, you know, like you don't want to be the guy in the Marines who's, you know, beefing with the other Marines about like, I don't think we should do this, and then you're an outcast for the whole time you're out there, you know. So I don't know, it's an ugly thing. There really is no explanation for that, and what I think is really odd is when you look at the pictures of the police who turn their backs on the mayor, you see some of them are policemen of color, and then that really is mind-boggling to me. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, but don't you have the same conversation with your kids at home that the mayor had, and you're black or Hispanic? You know what I mean? And you turn your back on the mayor.
But that's part of the police force, man. You have to go along to get along. That's how it is. That's how it is, because because you know what I'm saying, you see black cops that treat black civilians just as bad, but they're just doing it to fit in. They're doing all that to fit in. People gotta understand it. Another thing that I do want to address, the big thing I can't stand in this whole argument that people make is, there's good cops and bad cops. No, there's good police forces and there's bad police forces. When you have bad cops and a police force, you make that whole police force bad, because everybody is accountable for each other's actions, period. That's how the police force is. You're supposed to cover each other's back. That's how it's supposed to be. If you're doing something wrong, that reflects on your whole precinct, that reflects on your whole force.
Word.
So like that. So we gotta stop talking like cops work every day as individuals. No, they don't. They have a sergeant they have to answer to at the end of every single day. They have quotas to answer to at the end of every single day. You know what I'm saying? They have stats they have to reach. They have a lot of expectations. They address each other, yes sir, no sir. Everything's about structure, stripes, and authority. And so we need to get off this whole argument about how there's a good cop versus a bad cop, because the good cops ain't gonna tell on a bad cop doing wrong. They're not gonna do it.
Yep. Unless they want their life threatened.
Exactly. So we need to stop with this whole, there's good cops. No, there's good police forces and there's bad police forces. And when you have a police force that has a couple cops killing unarmed black people, your force is bad. I'm sorry. I don't care how many nice guys or good guys in there, and your whole police force is garbage.
Yeah.
This is true. This is very true.
Because everything is in unison with cops. The way they walk, they all walk exactly the same when they do things. God forbid, when a cop gets killed, and they
have to salute.
Commemorate. Yeah, the salute. Everything's in unison. They do things together. Nobody does things individually. So this whole argument about a good cop versus a bad cop is bullshit.
Yep.
Sorry.
When you see them ride around in a car, they have a partner in there. They're never alone.
Yeah, cops don't do things on their own.
Nope.
Nah, I definitely don't.
It's the culture that the person at the top condones. When you have your police chief, and when you have the head of your union saying, trying to make excuses, trying to justify one of their men's wrongdoing, so they have the free reign to do whatever they want. They know that they know their boss is gonna back them no matter what they do. So that's why they do that.
Yes.
And it's almost like compounded forces too, because we have the police that as soon as these two murders happened, I just remember saying to myself, I was actually on my way out to Brooklyn when I heard about it. I saw it on my phone on the internet. And, I was actually on my way out to Brooklyn, so I was paranoid. I was like, I don't want no cop to see me and then take his anger out on me. But what made me mad was that I felt like the protests were really making a dent in society. You were seeing people protesting all around the country, in other countries. You even saw priests doing a die-in in their church where everybody's lying down, all types of peaceful protests going on all over the country.
Yep.
And I felt like even when things like that happen, in the beginning it's like, all right, people wait for it to blow over so they don't have to address it. But when it really sticks like it did with what was going on over the last month, then folks start to think like, all right, maybe I really need to sit down and talk about this. Maybe we need to get to some kind of resolution, some solution. Maybe we need to make some changes. And immediately once this guy comes to New York City and shoots two police officers, it puts the brakes to everything. It slows stuff down. I'm not saying it stops the movement, but it really makes it more difficult, because then you have the police saying, well, look what happened just now, thinking that it's associated, even though it's really not. It's not the same situation. But what makes it worse though is that the people who are actually probably on our side and getting ready to propose some new changes work very closely with the police officers. And now it's for them, it's like, I'm not going to put myself out there after two of the cops just got murdered, to try to propose change. And it probably puts the brakes on them too. They didn't even get to open their mouths. So I know there's probably one or two people out there that's got to be a case for that.
Hey, I don't mean to interrupt you, but all I have to say is I don't think it's a coincidence. I don't think him shooting up those cops is a coincidence. I don't think it was, done out of spite, out of randomness. I think, there was something behind it. But that's all I'm gonna say.
I think it was. Oh, all right. Well, I guess we'll leave it at that. But
yeah, we don't want to go too deep into that.
Yeah, because we could talk about that for like hours. But I still think it's a big problem, man, because it's just you don't see everybody out, protesting and things like that like we did before. It's still small groups, but I don't know what's going on in Ferguson right now. Hopefully they're still going strong out there, but it's disappointing and it's disheartening, because we were really making some progress. We were really getting things going.
Definitely
bringing awareness to it, and
because
there's still a lot more work to be done, but I don't think
and I think it will be though. You know what I'm saying? Like even Occupy Wall Street took time with people with that. So I mean, it's I mean, the holiday season just happened, so I mean, I'm sure there's gonna be more instances of more protests, and let's just keep it going, because we got to remember as a country, like 50% of people under the age of 18 are people of color. So in like the next 40 or 60 years, there's gonna be people of color, and the crazy a nerd fact that I was reading about and learning about or whatever about evolution is like as far as like for humans, we might get to an area where there's no race, like everybody's has the same fair like kind of
everybody looks mixed.
Yeah, everybody's gonna look mixed because we're more think about it, we're more global. We, what I'm saying, we can travel, we can connect a lot easier. Before, you're in your different environments and you stay there. But now, everything is more everybody's connected. So, like, everyone's going to be mixed with stuff. So, everyone's going to have the same, there's going to be no more race. It's not going to matter. So, that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And it's the first time, I think, in a long time, I'd say like back to like the late 1960s, where everything was being revolutionized and civil rights movements and all that stuff. It kind of got close to there, because I saw, even here in the Capitol, people were like protesting every night. I mean, every night. Like, and I don't mean just a small amount of people. I'm saying like at least half of the Capitol was like just packed with people just protesting. Things were being backed up. I couldn't even get to work sometime, and it was like, it was just crazy. So
shout out.
Yo, that made me feel so much better. It was like, yes, like this is what we need more. People to come together, and it wasn't even just black people themselves. It was just people in general.
That's the thing. That, like, bad. Younger people are not going for that okie doke that old narrative bullshit. Like, you can't just tell the people some shit and we're just gonna believe it. Like, there's so much shit we don't go for anymore, and I love it. You know what I'm saying?
And especially like, when you have video proof.
Right, and like young people don't give a fuck about color. They really don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, we rock with everybody. That's the great thing about a generation, is the older people, that still want to have that power structure. It's still the police force is that older generation that still want to have their, you know what I'm saying, that whole mentality of a police force still wants to have that old boys mentality and shit like that. But yo, it doesn't work no more. And just in the way we take our media now, like, I remember years back when the whole Syria thing, they basically tried to get the people to back another war into Syria, and we didn't fall for that dumb shit.
Nope.
Like, you didn't fall for that crap. Like, no, you're not gonna just tell us, Syria just killed a bunch of kids, so now let's support a war. We're not gonna fall for that, because people, believe it or not, there's still truthers that are skeptical about exactly the story that they gave about 9/11. So we don't just believe everything that they tell us on the media and stuff like that, and that's great. We have our own minds. We find things out ourselves. That's a great thing.
Yeah, and I will say though that just based on history being our best teacher, that something will happen. There will be another police officer that takes advantage of his authority and puts somebody who is of color in a grave, and it'll be back. The movement will come back, and everybody's gonna gear up just like we did before and step out into the street and make sure that our voices are heard. The police have been doing this for years, and now it's more public that we have social media, so even your local news story can quickly turn into a national story very fast. I remember I heard about the Trayvon Martin case maybe 4 months before it even turned into a big news story. I think it was because it happened in February. It was the All-Star game, and that's always Valentine's Day weekend, but nobody really heard about the Trayvon thing till like June, and I remember getting that news story the week after the All-Star game and hearing about it just because somebody had posted a local news story that somebody had shared on social media. So things can get around really fast. If I was a police officer or I was running a precinct, I would definitely be looking into some new policies just so that we don't become the ones that are under fire, make sure we're handling things the proper way. Right. And I think this is really a case of systems, and that's something that I definitely worry about with the people who are in authority right now, because everything is run through systems, just like Feast was saying. Everything's organized, chess moves, everybody's moving as one, as unison. So when they have these systems that are in place that they've been using for years and years and years, and it's obvious that these are outdated, you need to get video cameras on uniforms or whatnot. There needs to be some changes. And when you have the mayor of New York City who steps out and says that I'm nervous about what's going to happen to my children, and then something happens, he's just going to be right. And I hate to bring this back around full circle, but one question that I had for you guys was, how do you feel about de Blasio's chances about being reelected in New York? Being that New York is a very liberal state, I think that he's a little bit better off than some people might initially think, but there also are a lot of voters that are connected to the New York City Police Department. So it's a catch-22 there, because they do count on that union support. But at the same time, we're a very liberal state, and in New York City, a lot of the times you see things happen in Ferguson, you're like, oh, that could never happen here. New York's so liberal, it's so open, blah, 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 But how do you guys feel about his chances of being reelected as mayor?
I think it's, I'd say it's 60-40, because majority of the time, if he's sympathizing with the people, he's gonna have a majority of the vote. But at the same time, the cops have a lot of authority on who gets to, you know, freely do what they want to do in the streets. So
Right.
his advertisement and getting around to like other people who haven't heard his voice is gonna be kind of difficult if the police force is not enforcing that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I feel the same way. You know, Shameless is you know, about 60-40, but I mean, let's focus on what other good things he's doing for the city. You know what I'm saying? You know, this is a big highlight, but I mean, there's gonna be other factors, you know, that would help him in another re-election. But also, I did want to bring to a fact is like it's not the first time that de Blasio sympathized with, like, you know, with civilians and stuff, because like if you guys remember the Central Park 5 situation, and like he was like some of the kids from the Central Park 5 that was, you know, they basically, you know, they got their whole case expunged, and they're basically suing the city and stuff. And like when de Blasio was running, like he was supporting them. And so because I was listening to an interview with one of the Central Park 5 people, Raymond Santana, and he was saying how, like, you know, he really was supporting what their cause was, just trying to, you know, make the city pay for what they did wrongfully, and, you know, incriminating them and all that stuff. And so they were like, all right, so if he's on our side, we got to get him elected, and he got elected mayor, and it helped him out even more, and he got the backing. So definitely, like, de Blasio is very, very conscious of the people, and he does care, and he basically keeps it right. You know what I'm saying? If he feels that you're right, he's gonna say you're right. You know what I'm saying? So definitely,
yeah, I definitely see that way, but I kind of have a weird. It's not weird, but it's a plausible question. Do you think if he did not have a black family, that he would sympathize with that?
I don't know. I don't think he would be as in tune with it, but I think that is actually a strength for him, as opposed to just like kind of a cop out. You know what I'm saying? Because we all have, you know, friends that have been grown and or raised in a certain community, and sometimes you being, you know, a person of color, you've educated them on things that they just really didn't see before, and it opens their eyes. And so for him having a black wife, he's probably been with her for a very long time before he even got married, you know, before he even ran for mayor. So she's probably opened his eyes, you know. And I do know that just from having an interracial couple in my family that's married, that you begin to see things from our perspective, because sometimes racism hits you up in front in your face, because people will see you as, you know, I know, for instance, my brother and his wife got pulled over in like Virginia, and it was just like, you know, you know what I mean?
Pulled over in Virginia. I've always been warned about Virginia, but
yeah, I have too, and it's crazy. You live in New York, you're getting warned about driving in Virginia by a lot of people. But you know, the officer was kind of disrespectful, and my brother had to step in like, yo, that's my wife, like, you know what I'm saying? And you know, saying it's the other way around with de Blasio being like he's a white male and his wife is black. I'm sure that there's a lot of things that he's seen, whether some disrespectful things that maybe some former white friends might have said to him.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, things that.
Yeah, he got treated like a black male would. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. Yeah,
man. I'm sure he's in tune.
Is de Blasio? Is he Italian?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
Sounds like an Italian name.
He probably got it even worse.
Yeah, because they are a little bit similar to, you know, people of color.
Well, actually, I think the Italian community don't play that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, yo, he comes home with a black woman in an Italian family. I don't know.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, they're not really in tune. But a lot of Italian people can sympathize a bit, because I don't know, a lot of Italian people I know, they get along a lot with people of color. And
they should, and rightfully so, because they got treated like shit when they came to this country. You know, they were getting marginalized in Europe, absolutely. And when they came here, they got profiled. They got treated like shit. But the thing is like, when you come to this country, you have a social class where it's like, okay, you can be classified as white, and you see what black people get treated in this country, so you can just go with the white people. So it's easier for them to go within that culture. So so like Italians should sympathize with us, because they was treated like they was stepped on to. Same thing with Irish people.
Yeah, Irish. Who else?
Jewish. Polish people,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, there were a lot, but the thing about them is the fact that they still have that color barrier.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? They still have a bit of leniency because you can't tell right away. Oh, okay, yeah, you're Irish.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I don't like you or whatever, but you're still white. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly, because like you were considered a second-class citizen in Europe, and then when you come to America, you're like, wait, people with the same color as me get treated better than darker people than me? Alright, I ain't gonna say nothing.
Right?
and also a difference of that was a geographical type of thing, because you could tell by what somebody was by what neighborhood they lived in, what type of clothes they wore, you know, food they ate. Those type of things really stood out a lot more in New York City back in the day as opposed to what they do now. Yeah. I know, for instance, if you talk back when this is like really random, but if you ever notice, a lot of Jewish people will eat Chinese food on Christmas. You know, granted they don't celebrate Christmas, so it's always like it's kind of a thing where back in the heyday of like when New York City was those little small cultural communities, the Jewish people and the Chinese people realized like, hey, we're the only ones actually still out right now, and they developed a small friendship that kind of led to the, I don't want to say it's a tradition, but it's really common that you'll find a lot of Jewish families always go get Chinese food, go to the movie, something like that on Christmas. But you know, as time has progressed and we've become more culturally melded and more of a melting pot, we're definitely seeing that more of these, like what Seamus was saying, you kind of blend in. You're like, oh, I was getting discriminated against before, but now they don't really know what I am, nor do they care as much as they used to, because it's like, well, that guy over there with the dark skin, he's probably more of a problem. So yeah, things change.
Yeah. So, kind of segueing back to we were talking about the police and how the Blasio was getting treated for, you know, how they reenact with the civilians and how they come together and they coordinate and do, you know, unjustified things. There were a few articles that came out that, you know, black cops and other cops of color came out and how they spoke out on how when they were off of duty they were discriminated against. And I think that's a very big opener, because even Fee said it before, now that we have all this technology where we can communicate with one another, now they feel better that their word is going to get spread out even more, and that people can sympathize even more. And now that, you know, since this is happening with Eric Garner and Mike Brown, it's kind of, I think they're at a breaking point where, you know what, I gotta do something about this, because this is just gonna continue if I just let it slide, keep on sliding.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that article was definitely interesting, man. Yeah, with the cops that were off duty saying that, like, oh, we get racially profiled until they figure out that we're police officers, like stop and frisk and all that. I know that one time when I was actually I'm not sure if I mentioned this on a previous podcast, that when I was moving to New York City, you know, with my stuff, I didn't have money to get across the George Washington Bridge. Like, I didn't have cash, so I called my dad. I called my dad in the car in front of us. My dad's driving the other car. I'm driving the other car behind him with my stuff. I said, Dad, pull over on the next exit. I need to borrow some cash because I don't have any money for the bridge. So we pull over in a little exit in Jersey, and I walk up to the car, he hands me some cash, and before I can even back away from the window, about like 4 or 5 police officers run out the building with guns pointed at both of us. Oh yeah, that's Jersey for you. Yeah, and told me to get on the ground. Basically, we're like, what did you just sell him? What did you sell him? I'm like, yo, that's my dad. And then like pulled, you know, they had guns on my dad. He's in the car window, and I'm like, yo, if they shoot I'm sitting there thinking they're gonna shoot my dad. Like, you know what I mean? And that was pretty tough for me to watch.
And it easily could have escalated even worse. Like.
Yeah, my pops was mad cool in the situation. I was like, yo, my pops was
come on,
cool.
Man, your dad is a vet.
Yeah, he's older.
It's been happening to him for years, man. He knows what to do. He knows the ins and outs.
Yeah. If I told you where my dad was from, he probably not scared of some stuff like that. But anyway, but when the cops in what you were saying, when they were off duty talking about police officers stop and frisk, pulling guns, like that's something that, you know, we've all seen. You know, you walking down the street, a cop says something, and then if you try to even exercise your right to saying no, like this is not, like I'm not consenting to this search or something like that, like then they might slam you, or like, you know, throw you in the back of a van, cuff you, or, you know, do something just assholish and let you go. And then I guess for these guys, being a police officer in this case didn't even help them. So that's definitely unfortunate to hear from. But it's something that we all knew was going on.
Yeah, and it's weird how, you know, they get treated just like us when they're off duty, but as soon as they see the badge, when they get to the badge, like, oh, you're a cop? And all of a sudden now everything's all cool. Okay, you can go home. Like nothing just happened before. Like you didn't just harass the guy.
They better not have turned their backs on Bill de Blasio, though. These same cops.
I'm pretty sure
they probably had to, though, man.
I'm pretty sure
they have to, bro. You gotta go along to get along, man. You have to.
Yeah, I live across the hallway from 2 police officers, NYPD cops, and they're people of color, and I never, you know, felt like it's my place to ask them about that, you know, just to be respectful of what they do for a living and how they feed their families, but it's just something that really, really bothers me, like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's kind of your business, but it's not. Majority of the time, you know, if they're doing it for their family's sake, they're doing it for a living, you know, you just let them be. Like, you just hope that they know better, but at the same time, they should know better, and they should do better.
Right. All right, man. Is there anything else that we wanted to touch on? I know we ran through a lot of this. This was definitely a good conversation. Anything else we might have missed, man? Fellas, y'all any ideas y'all want to talk about?
What about this Patrick Lynch guy?
I mean, he spoke about him. I'm not sure what his job is. I forget, but he's actually the guy who's become like the loudmouth. And a lot, if you do a lot of Googling on him, he's basically the butt of all the jokes when people are laughing at the New York Police Department outside of the city. Like here, it's pretty heated because we see them every day, but outside of New York, people are like, man, something wrong with them people. Like, them cops are crazy. Like, and New York City Police Department was embarrassing. And he's the guy who's like the face of all of it. So, I think at this point, his voice is not as, you know, not as strong as it used to be.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I heard a lot of uproar about him, but I'm guessing he's just there for like comic relief or something like that.
And he's the leader of the policemen's one of the police department groups. It's not the union, but it's very similar. And he's the one that's like demanding apologies from Bill de Blasio. He's the one that's saying that the blood is on his hands, all this stuff. He's basically the voice of all the cops that have turned their backs, and is the one putting the battery in all their backs as well.
Of course, there's always gotta be one.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't see him being around that much after his term of whatever job he has is complete.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, anything else, fellas?
No, man. I think we got a lot of it.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty good on what I had to say on my own.
Cool. Well, everybody, hey, feel free to leave some comments under the post. You know, definitely let us know how you feel about what's going on in the city. If you're not from New York City, it's also great to hear your opinion because it's good to know what the outside world thinks about what's going on here. Everybody's watching. There's definitely news stories, even across the seas and BBC News, Al Jazeera. You see things about what's going on in New York City with the police department and the mayor. So, you know, feel free to add some comments there, and definitely appreciate y'all listening. Shout out to Zilla and Stush, Zombie Life, ZombieLifestyle.com. Check that out, Zilla and Stush with the X, not the Z. Check them out as well. And we'll be back next week. Happy New Year, everybody, and hope that everybody's safe in the new year. And we'll be back next week with another topic.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody. R.I.P. Stuart Scott.
Yes,
R.I.P.